everybody, this is Destiny, one half of Gaming with Twins, and today we are going to have a little bit of a preview lesson, and that preview lesson is called How to Animate Food. This is just a quick short video on animating food, or at least making food look appetizing when it comes to animation. Now, in this quick I guess shot in the dark type of lesson, we're going to do the food and volume, or in this case the blob test. The exercise for today would be the cheese lobster, and we're also going to have a small little extra discussion at the end where there's a difference between animating the illustration and animating the food itself. It sounds counterintuitive, but I promise you I have a point with that. So let's get right into it. So the number one thing you need to know when it comes to animating food is that food is just, well, how much space something can take up. You know, there's many ways that you could prepare food, and those ways are stirring, mixing, tearing, scooping, cutting, pouring, and sprinkling is, right here. It's a part of the cooking process. And I stress food and volume is because at the end of the day, you could have a perfectly good dish like this right here, but at the end of the day, when it's done, it's going to be mush. So to worry about structure when it comes to food, you don't have to really worry about it, because food really only takes its true shape when it's the final dish. But the preparing part, you have a lot of leeway. So we're going to do the blob test, and I'm going to animate a little bit of an example of each of these moments. For example, stirring. So stirring is very simple to animate something stirring. So I'm going to animate it right next to it. So to exercise animating food, you're going to basically create this blob. So let's start right here. So let's say this blob is, I don't know, a piece of food, right? There we go. Now, let's say you're stirring it with the spoon. So I'm going to make a little spoon right next to it. I'm animating this on 3s, by the way. So you use your little onion skin. By the way, I'm using Clip Studio in case you guys are wondering. So, I should have put the spoon right here. There we go. You could use any brush for this, but sorry if I can't. That is not a spoon. So let's say you're using... This is my best attempt at a spoon. I'm sorry. There we go. So we're using the spoon to mix this dish. So now the spoon is going to go one way. And to get it to give the illusion that something is being stirred, we will keep having the, let me make another layer right real quick. We're going to have the spoon go in. I did not want this layer right here. Sorry. We're going to have the spoon go in circles like this. So it's just going to go in circles. That's it. And as for the blob, well, that's where we're going to make it go in the opposite direction of the spoon. So let's say the blob's right here. Spoon is going this way, forward, and this way. So we make the blob go in the opposite direction. Or at least, no wait, not in the opposite direction, sorry. I misspoke. So picture it like this. Let me use a better. I did not mean to get rid of this. Sorry. But picture this. So the spoon is pushing the blobbed mass. So in order to give it that look, let me move this. We're going to make it look like this. Like the spoon is pushing the mixture forward. So it would look a little bit like this. I'm gonna lower the opacity here. And I'm gonna take off the onion skin, but this is what this would look like. Actually, let me do it like this. There we are. So it look like it's pushing here, but this part right here is going outward because the spoon is scooping like this. And this part's being remaining this way. So let's give it a go. Now a little bit to the extreme when it comes to the movement. Now I'm going to use the last frame as the first frame. So we're going to play it out right here. Oh, I don't have it set to loop, sorry. There we are. A simple stirring motion. Now, that's how we do stirring. Or mixing. Technically the same thing. I don't know why I put that up there. Why did I say mixing? Oh, sorry. Yeah, they're basically the same thing unless you want to animate a tool like a stand mixer, but even then the same thing would apply. So my bad for putting this one in there. Technically stirring and mixing are the same thing. I just realized that. Forgive me. Now the tearing part. Most of the time you would need the tearing part when it comes down to meat. Now it depends. If you emphasize the tear, then unfortunately it tells me that the piece of meat is pretty tough. But let's rough it out before we animate real quick. So when you think of tearing, right, you think of almost forgot we're doing the blob test. So think of the blob, right? This is our blob here, whole. And when you think of tearing, meat has a bunch of fibers in it. So tearing nearly splits it, and you kind of be sure to add emphasis on those fibers with these little lines here, either a line or sometimes a little teardrop like circle right up here can emphasize that something is being torn. And then we're going to do the final bit, which is the split. So let me just put this. This is too large compared to the example I'm wanting to show you. There we are. And then the full split. Now, when it splits, right, it's not going to be clean. Some of them is going to, depends on what it is going to be clean. But let's assume that this is just meat. So it's going to be a little bit rough. Now some, let's see, let me try to think. What is something that you can tear that's kind of clean? If you guys know, just let me know in the comments. But we're going to use these little sketches as a little reference to make animating go by a little bit easier. That way I have something to go by. So since I have this in the background, let me start with my blob here. There we are. Then again, I'm going to animate. Now I'm going to animate it on 3s and at first, but since the tear is going to be a little bit slow, I'm going to start switching to 4s. Remember, 2 and 3 is kind of smooth. Now, less frames like 1s and 2s equate to fast movement, but when it comes down to slower movement, 4 or 5 or as many spaces as you need. This would be, always check the timing. So I'm jumping into the tearing part, right? So it's going to look like, I did not go by my reference. Oh my goodness. Follow your reference as best as you can. If I need to add an in between, I will. So first I'm going to do this. Now I'm not going to add the details yet, but you'll see why. So then I do this. Now this is where I switch to 4s. So before I was animating on 3s, now I'm animating on 4s. Now, time for me to zoom in. Now this part can be a little bit surgical, but I'm not trying to put too much of a difference. I'm just trying to emphasize that something is slowly being ripped. Because you might be thinking, what does tearing have to do with food? So I put a little bit of, don't have to go crazy with it, but let's see, comes down to, oh no, I got rid of my reference real quick. Oh well. It'll come back. It'll find its way. Then I start showing the cracks. Now, this is where I'm going to slightly go on 3s and then show one part popped right here. Then I'm going to make this gap a little bit wider. This gap a little bit wider. That's too wide. We're going to have this, I wanted it sharper. Gonna have, since this part popped, we're just gonna have it have a little bit of tear here. Always look at how your animations turn out. And then animate, we're going back on 4s. And then for the last bit, we're going to go back to 3s and 2s. So it's thinning out. This is starting to get wider. I'm not gonna let it go too wide now, because then it defeats the anticipation. I'm gonna make this. And then finally, it's going to snap right about here. I'll have it snap here. So this is where my other, let me see. This is my other reference. There we are. So now it's snapped in half here. Onion skin, don't fail me now. Now for food, let's try to emphasize on how good it looks. So when it snaps like that, right, sometimes there's some debris, or I guess leavings, let's call it leavings, or fibers or strands. So when it snaps, right, let's say it's a juicy steak, let's say that bits of particles or stuff came from it. Then the next one, we're doing it on 3. Now we're just doing the anticipation part, which is after the snap. And these just turn to dots. And they get off the screen when you're done. There we are. Now let's see One more frame, just one more. All right, let's give it a go. Let's try this. I have it set to loop. See? Looks pretty nice. And mind you, this is only 10 frames. 10 frames. There is so much that you could do with less is more. In the beginning, the tear is anticipated slowly. And then now, the next thing we're going to go over is scooping. But we're going to tackle this one. So in order to properly, animate scooping motions, we have to understand dirt. I know this sounds weird, but hear me out. Dirt, when you put a shovel into it, like let's see, this is our ground, right? And you put a shovel into the dirt. Now the shovel's not going to really stick up like this. Usually it's going to have a little bit of broken earth right here. Then let's say you scoop, right? Dirt's going to pile up right here. So this is, and then have shovel with the food or dirt right here. Some of it may fall. So with these in mind, this is how we do the process of scooping. If you guys looked at our video of Dot cooking for the child, she scoops or spoons out food. And I want to be real, this concept can get tricky, depends on what's being scooped. For example, if it's just maybe paste, probably not that big a deal, but you could tell a lot about what is being eaten, or the texture of something depends on, how it's scooped or what kind of problem. So let's say this is a spoon, right? And let's say in the spoon is cereal. So cereal is circular. Cereal rolls. Cereal kind of adds a whole other new element to when you animate cooking, because now not everything that's being scooped is something that's going to cooperate with the spoon. But let's get into the scooping part. So first you have your spoon. All right. We're going to do this on threes because most people, you only do scoopings on fours or high or longer if it's a tough item. So this is rather easy because with this, you just use the transform tool. Remember, in an arc. I'm not going to do much of that, just animate it in an arc. So I'm going to leave this right here. And I'm going to move this right here to make it look like it was being put in something. There we go. I'm going to color for the animation's sake. I'm going to color it blue. Hopefully it can be seen. There we go. So it made contact. Then I'm going to do another one. Show that it's a little bit deeper because you're not going to get anything like that. And when it goes deeper, the pile gets higher. Now the scooping part. Okay. Now this one is a little bit tricky because you need to know on how stuff that's being scooped behaves. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this trail right here. And we're going to have it bunched up right here. All right, I'm still animating on threes. Now going up. Now let's assume the bottom part of the spoon is going to be seen, but the top part, let's assume it got stuff. So there we go. Now it's not a clean one, so let's say that some food fell. Now I know it looks janky right here, but trust me, the whole point of animation is that little imperfections in frame rate or spacing can sometimes be hidden with perfect timing. All right. Or what I mean by timing, I mean timing of your frames. As long as you know how to position your frames, you know, even the most wonkiest looking animation could give the appearance of, well, smooth animation. So let's take a look at this. Now let's have it plop. Since it plopped unevenly, let's just do this. There we go. Now let's see how this looks. I have it on loop. Here we go. That's too fast. It's too fast, so let me move it on fours. Just one frame apart. All right, let's give it a go. There we are. This is animated on fours, and guess how many frames this was? Only 6 frames. Yep, only 6 frames to do the scooping. The cheese and lobster test that we're going to do is we're going to animate a cheese lobster. So this is my little rough sketch of it. But what we're going to have happen is we're going to have a fork come in and skewer this lobster. Juices are going to come out. And when the fork is lifted, there's going to be, I guess, some cheese stuck to it. Or maybe in the full video, I think the cheese part would stick well if it was eaten. So maybe in the full video, we'll fully animate the cheese stretch that would happen from eating a lobster top with cheese. So here we go. We're going to use what we learned, and we're going to use this reference sketch as a means to accomplish that. So let's give it a go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on a separate layer. Now, why am I putting the body of a lobster on a second layer? Well, it's because it's not moving, and it's no point in animating something that's not going to be moving. So I'm going to put this on a separate layer or a separate animation folder. There we go. Well, probably not an animation folder. I'll just make it as a still image. Let me try this again. Let me take it out of here. Thank you. There we are. Huh, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I'll just name it lobster so I keep track of stuff. Don't be disorganized like me. So we're going to have the lobster meat right here. I'll make another video showing how to make food more appetizing than this, because this is just, there we go. So now let's say there's a little bit of a delay before the fork comes. Now, since this is Clip Studio, I do not want to have to draw this lobster meat all over again when it's not moving. So what I do is I make sure that this layer is selected. I hit layer, I hit duplicate layer. Then I hit, where is it? Assign cell to frame. Then I hit 2. That's basically how you copy and paste in Clip Studio. So let's say we're doing the fork. So the fork is right here. No anticipation needed. How many teeth are on a fork again? Let's do 3. Actually, nah, let's make it a pitchfork. There we go. It's a little too close for my liking. Let me move it back. There we go. All right. Now we're going to move it forward some more. So layer, duplicate. I'm only doing this because I don't want to have to constantly animate this piece of meat, even though I'm only moving the fork. So for the most first part of it, it's going to appear very lazy, if that makes sense. All right. There we go. Now time for contact. So when contact finally happens, the fork is going down. So when it does, the food is going up. So the fork goes into the lobster. And now we're going to make it move slightly like it's disturbed. So it's going to go like this. It's not going to go up like we put too much force. No one stabbed it like that, but it's going to be disturbed. And then we're going to show that this is being punctured. There we go. Or skewered, so to speak. Another couple frames. Now we're going to have the fork a little bit deeper. There we go. And then more distressing on the lobster. Oh dear, my reference, my background image went. There we go. All right. Now time for the pull. So it goes. Wrong button. So now the fork is going to come back up. Hold on, what happened here? Hold on, what's going on here? Oh no, don't tell me. Yeah, I did that. Oh, okay, give me one moment. I may have made an error. There we are. All right. So now it's going upward. So when it's going upward, we're going to show parts of the lobster is going to be coming up too. So it's going to be almost getting ready to stretch. You'll see what I mean. Let's say it's really wedged in there. And then add some texture. Even though this isn't the texture of a crab, I'm just winging it at this point. So forgive me if it doesn't look quite as appetizing. Now there's going to be some resistance. So let's animate this on 4s, I believe. Would there be resistance? It would be like a really tough crab if... Nah, let's not do any resistance. That would show how tough the crab is if you had to fight to get it out the shell. So since it's stretching a little bit, so we're just going to blob, since it's a blob, remember, we're just going to... Now, this is where we gotta... Let's see, make sure that it's somewhat interacting with the shell. So I'm just going to black out this spot to show, okay, yeah, it's leaving the shell. And then the texture. Never forget the texture. Even though I'm pretty sure it's been a while since I had lobster, so forgive me. It's probably, lobster is probably not supposed to be stretchy like this. Okay, let's see. Okay, and then we're going to do what I like. We're going to animate a quick snap. So the fork's going to be like this. and then we're going to have the meat snap. It's going to be free. It's this blob. I know it's probably not appetizing, but trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. Then since it's snapping free, a little bit here, a little bit here. So it goes. And then maybe a little bit of movement. So it jiggled up. So now it's going to jiggle down. It's probably not how lobster is, but I figured maybe this one I will make the exception for. And then animate back on 3s as a regular bit of lobster. But since it's out of its shell, it's going to be a little bit flat like this. So we're going to keep it like this. There we go. I do not know if this is even lobster meat or if lobster meat is supposed to have marbling like this. There we go. Now let me get rid of my background sketch. I see why I need to leave it. There we go. So now, hopefully that won't take the immersion out. But now let's see how it looks. Let's animate this. There we go. Now, in the full video, it's going to actually be a cheesy lobster because we're going to show the lobster being eaten, and since it has cheese on it, it's probably going to have some stretch to it. So forgive me, let's just call it instead of cheese lobster, the cheese lobster exercise will probably be in the full one, but the lobster exercise. Now, this is, at the end, we're going to just discuss the difference between animating the illustration and animating food. Now, I know it sounds like it's the same thing, but some people, when they see images like this, they tend to get intimidated because they think that we animated every little bit of detail. But no, believe it or not, this is actually just a still image. When we animated it for that little short, it's a still image. We just added some effects like steam and the sparkles. In the original file, unfortunately, that file got corrupted, so I can't open it without it crashing my computer. In the original file, I just simply had the base colors and the base illustration, but the things that I added was the steam over the top and the sparkles. That's all I added. Now, when you animate the food, usually you're animating the process of how to make the food. For example, cracking the eggs or stirring things up and such. That's, animating the food, or at least more like animating the process of creating the food. Because once you get that still illustration of the finished dish, you don't really have to do much. But when it comes to animating food being eaten, it will need these parts. It may need all of this. So when people say, oh, animating food is kind of difficult or easy, I'm thinking, which one? Are you animating the illustration to make it look like that there's movement? Because usually we also did a camera pan, which it's pretty simple. But I'll go over that, and if you guys wanted to learn about that in the full video. But I'm going to give a small example of animating the food with right here. So this is a simple dish that I made. It's just pears and mashed potatoes. Not that appealing though. Now the thing is, I just gave it some highlights right here. I blended some, to give texture of mashed potatoes right here. The only thing I'm missing is more texture on the potatoes, but that's neither here nor there. So let's say I wanted to make it look appealing. All I gotta do is find a pink backdrop. So I'm going to take this background and I'm going to turn it entirely pink. Oh, I almost forgot. This is one of mine. Okay, this is my images. Okay. Let me rasterize it. I forgot for this lesson I was supposed to. Now, let's say you want this dish to look appetizing. So, first thing I would do, first I would duplicate the original image. Then I would have that one on top and then put the saturation up. Where is it? Let me see if it'll allow me to saturate it. Give me a moment. Control U. There it is. So you raise the saturation all the way up. There we go. Then after that, lower the opacity. No, not lower the opacity. How do I do this? Where is it? There we go. Take a soft eraser. That is my eraser, right? Only in parts that it's not needed. For example, I don't need it on the bowl. There we go. To add steam, let's say there's steam coming from the potatoes. You would take the soft brush, set it to white, make it a decent size. I'm just dabbing it here and dabbing it there. Then hit filter and Gaussian blur. Set it to, I'm sorry, I have it set to preview and I'm not seeing it. There's no way that it's not showing up. Okay, now it's showing up. Okay, there it is. I guess I didn't give them much to work with. Just to be safe, I'm just going to put it right here. I think it could do with more steam though. Or maybe more blur. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to add some more steam. Probably too much steam. There was something that was supposed to be added. Oh, yes. The little rings in the background that you often see. So you do this. Circle. Then you do the transparent part. You lower the... If you want to make the circles by yourself, that is. It's those little opaque or... There we go. You know, those little circles that you see in anime? That's what we're making here. There it is. So we're going to add... Some people like to add these glitter. Where are they? It's not showing. Oh, it's not showing up because it's on the image. Okay, what? Oh, I have it set to transparent. There we go. There we go. And lastly, blurring the edges. Gives the idea that the heat is touching it. It's probably too much up here, but... And then to animate it or make it give the appearance of animation, make sure you select everything. One moment. Folder, insert layer. So then you're going to go to animation, new animation layer, 2D camera folder. Now to give it the illusion that there is animation going on, What you're going to do is you're going to take this little camera here. Make sure you have, where's my camera folder? Don't be like me and not organize everything. There, here we are. So you select the smooth interpolation, and you first have it moved right here. Then move all the way over here, and then you move it down there. But what about the images? What about the circles and the sparkles? Now this is where things get a little bit tricky, but hold on. So let's say you want to give the appearance of the circles like floating. What you're going to do is you're going to take this brush. You're going to take the soft brush. You're going to make another one of these circles. It's going to be in front. All right. There we go. So then you're going to do a layer, convert layer. You're going to transform it into an image material layer. Hit it. Now after that, once it's an image material layer, you're going to hit this little button that says enable keyframes on this layer with this image layer still there. So now you can move this. So now we're going to go right here, and we're going to use the object tool to make it small. So now whatever you do with it, it's going to do on the next tool. So let's say I want it to go like this, and I want it to glow. Let's say I move it right here. I turn it invisible. I move it right here. And it's semi full, and it shrinks right here. Then I move it out. Actually, let me not move it out of frame. Let me move it right here for right now. And then right here, I'll move it back. And fully have this here. Oh, come on. Then have it here. So now let's see how it would move moving. Normally I would do more effects, but this is just how to give it that look that, oh, it's so pretty. This is just a preview. We could go over more of it if you guys wish to see more of these types of videos in the end.